I'll be back.
Those were up, and they did.
We're smart, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new epic movie review. And this epic movie review is going to be for a 1984 film. And it's for one of the first few films directed by a controversial director nowadays, who I don't like. And we're going to go back to the time when he was worth a shit. And what better way to start off is for the first film of his that became a major success. And that film is going to be for none other than 1984's, of course, The Terminator. Which is, of course, directed by James Cameron. Or Jimmy Cammy, as he's better now called nowadays. But anyway, what's the plot of this one? Well, sent back from Dystopia 2049, where the cold machines have conquered the entire world, to 1984 Los Angeles. The indestructible cyborg assassin known as the Terminator commences his deadly mission to kill humankind's most important woman, the unsuspecting Sarah Connor. However, from the same war-torn post-apocalyptic future comes a battle-scarred defense, Kyle Reese, who is a brave soldier of the Human Resistance Army, who has bent on stopping the cybernetic killer from eliminating the world's last hope. But the Terminator, of course, has no hard feelings, because he's a cyborg. He doesn't sleep, and he won't stop until he carries out his grim task. So does our future lie in our past? Well, how was this film made? Well, we all know this was not actually James Cameron's first film. His first film was actually Piranha 2: The Spawning, which he basically did not like, and hates, and just pretends he never made it. It was around Rome, Italy during the release of that film in 1982 that he fell ill and had a dream about a metallic torso holding kitchen knives dragging itself from an explosion. And so, James Cameron was inspired by director John Carpenter, who had made the slasher film Halloween from 1978 on a low budget. And Cameron used the dream as a launching pad to write a slasher-style film. Cameron's agent disliked the early concept of the horror film and requested that he work on something else. So Cameron, of course, dismissed his agent because his agent back then was probably an idiot. In the film's special effects that were miniatures of stop-motion animation, they got created by a team of artists that were led by Stan Winston and Gene Warren Jr. So, The Terminator would go on to be released to the public literally a few days before Halloween on October 26, 1984. And it defied low pre-release expectations, because The Terminator topped the United States box office for 2 weeks and made $78.3 million worldwide against a modest $6.4 million budget. And it's known to be the true film that launched Cameron's film career, and it solidified Arnold Schwarzenegger's status as a leading man. And of course, we all know the film's success led to a franchise, where you have at least one good sequel right here, which to me is the better one, and several other movies. Yeah, those ones that I'm not going to talk about in this review. Then in 2008, it got selected by the Library of Congress for preservation in the United States National Film Registry. And yeah, now, as for my reaction, well, yeah, we all know this was back in the day when James Cameron was worth a shit. And this was the first good film he did. Apparently, the first one he did was Piranha 2. Nobody liked it, and even he disowned it. So to me, to just about everybody, this is the true first film he did. Like, back then, he was worth a shit, unlike the wokest, jokey narcissist he is today, where he acts like he's the movie god, and thinks that he deserves to be worshipped by everybody and can't take one fucking criticism, or his fan base can't even take a single fucking criticism today, regardless of one person having a different opinion. Like, with his best stuff back then, before like the Titanic era, I easily love this movie. But my favorite film from him is, of course, well, when it comes to my favorite film from him, let's get this out. Like, I'll show you the ones I do own right here. Now I think about it. The one that now, when it comes to, anyway, sorry this took so long. When it comes to the Terminator, I love this movie. Definitely a masterpiece in cinema. But easily James Cameron's best film to me will always be Aliens. Yes, that's his best project, and it still always will be, and it's going to stay that way for very good reasons. This movie, the first Terminator, his third best. The second best movie he's done is Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Then, of course, you have The Abyss. It's easily very underrated. I think James Cameron's most underrated feature. And, of course, I also love True Lies. No, I'm not getting the shitty 4K. No way. Easily, like, True Lies was probably his last good film, and the last movie he did worth a shit. His last movie even worth a shit. And he should have retired there, because after this movie, he sadly went on to join the overly serious crowd that wants to make overly pretentious stuff. He made Titanic, which I think fucking sucks. Avatar 1, overhyped. And you all know Avatar: The Way of Piss sucks even more. And I remember when I hated it and made a rant about that. One particular YouTuber you're probably all familiar with got his feelings all hurt. Because his feelings were all hurt that I didn't like it. And he decided to start drama. And he thought he had the right to start drama about me for no reason. Yeah. And now, because of that, I just double hate the movie even more. And now I consider Way of Piss Cameron's worst movie. So that's what that accomplished. Yeah, like Avatar Way of Piss is just Jake repeating the same selfish shit he did. And then, of course, we have to have somehow Quaritch return. And then we get a random scene of Jermaine Clement making an absolute embarrassment of himself. Dressing up like some trailer trash pastor from church. Ranting about the whale brains will make us immortal. We have to harvest the whale brains. Yeah, if we take the whale brains, we'll stay immortal for life. Would you shut the fuck up about the fucking whale brains? I don't care about the fucking whale brains. Just give me entertaining fun films like these 5 movies were, Cameron. Like back when you actually made good movies, not ranting about church PSAs. I don't give a fuck. And, well, those weren't the only things he did. He produced stuff like Sanctum, which even I did not like, which was basically just him trying to be like the underwater cave films. Trying to be like those. Alita Battle Angel he produced, but that's a Robert Rodriguez film. And that's the only post-True Lies film he's involved in that I enjoy. And he also produced one of the Terminator films, the newest Terminator sequels I hate, called Terminator Dark Woke. And killed the series, but no, he's going to write more Terminator films. Because he can't do anything original anymore. Then again, he's a joke nowadays. Anyways, this film I never, like, when it comes to this movie, people call this an action movie. I never know why it is, but I'll never know why. Because it's really not. To me, it's more of a horror slasher film. And the one that really gets the evil Terminator's aspect right. Like, this one captures the killer machine's point of view the best, and it really sets a realistic concept for a horror film with no goofy kills and no one-liners at all. The Terminator is like one of those films that no matter if you've seen it or not, you've heard of it. Like, heck, you know at least 1 or 2 lines without seeing it. This little movie that, like, blasted the newcomers Arnold Schwarzenegger's career, made James Cameron a name in Hollywood, and gave a new meaning to a possible dark future that gave us nightmares. Like, seriously. It's like, yeah. It's like that. So, I don't know why people call it an action movie. Because it's not. And James Cameron had, like, he didn't have much money at the time, but he had a good script. And a great crew on his side to make one of the cinema's greatest movies of all time. Like, rarely has like a cyborg frightened its audience as the Terminator. Like after its release in 1984, extremely low budget sci-fi action broke box office records. It gave audiences something more to fear than just Freddy, Jason, or Michael. Through the years, like there have been stories about nature's beasts and creatures from another world and so on and so forth. Like Jaws was terrifying because it seemed so possible, and if Jaws is terrifying, the Terminator's just horrific. The realization of this Hitman machine dawned on everyone watching the film. Like, it's a time of exceeding technology. How long would it be before man is, like, overtaken by the very things he created? That's what's particularly scary about a film like The Terminator. Like, The Terminator is a story about how nuclear war causes the end to mankind. The end results could be the start of an even greater tragedy than the war is itself. The entire message of The Terminator is this anti-nuclear war message. Many people think that a few parts of the beginning of the movie are just some random things thrown in. Maybe that's understandable, but the seemingly random scenes actually do have a lot to do with the story. And when it comes to performances, like Arnold Schwarzenegger does a great job as a cyborg who's programmed to kill without mercy or remorse. For those that don't know, like, it's the movie where that, yeah, like, we even have that infamous line that's been trademarked to death, "I'll be back." Yeah, and the other actors also do a good job in this, not just Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's other actors who do great performances in here as well. You have Linda Hamilton, who is easily the perfect choice to do Sarah Connor, and especially with this movie, and definitely would go on to further improve her career with Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And like, the movie does start off very great. Like, how the movie starts is, we start off with cybernetic organism, and a man time travels separately from 2029 to 1984 Los Angeles. One of them is a cyborg assassin known as the Terminator. He's disguised as a male human appearance and programmed to hunt and kill a woman named Sarah Connor. And the genuine human is a soldier named Kyle Reese, who's intent on stopping the Terminator. They both steal guns and clothing. Like, and literally, with Arnold's scenes like, "Your clothes, give them to me." And the punks don't, that he's asking for, don't. So they try to attack him, but Arnold brutally kills them immediately, graphically. Like, I think he punches through one guy's chest and rips his heart out. Like, so yeah, this, you can already tell this guy's a threat. It's more perfect that way. And we get to Kyle Reese as well. Our other guy that got sent from 2029 to 1984. Yeah. And when we meet Sarah Connor, she's working in a diner. She's prepared to go out with friends. And, like, she's living a kind of normal life. And yeah, and then she learns the TI Hunter is kind of targeting her. And yeah, like, during the whole scene at the club, like, one of the scenes I really like in the Terminator, it's when Sarah Connor's at the dance club. Like, what I love about this, it's the song, the excellent slow motion camera. Then when Sarah drops something, goes to pick it up. And when she's bending over, the Terminator comes walking through the dance floor intimidatingly. And it's a very classic moment. Like, the Terminator, when we meet the Terminator, he systematically kills women bearing its target's name, having found their addresses in a telephone directory. And apparently there's a bunch of women named Sarah Connor. All of them are named Sarah, so it's hard to find the real Sarah Connor. He's finally able to find the true Sarah Connor he's looking for at a nightclub. But then Kyle Reese shows up, rescues her, and the pair steal a car, and they escape. And the Terminator pursues them in a stolen police car. And as they hide in a parking lot, like, Reese explains to Sarah that this artificial intelligent defense network that was known as Skynet, that was created by Cyberdyne Systems, the company that was literally the evil company in these movies, he informs her they're going to become self-aware in the near future and trigger a global nuclear war to exterminate the human species. And he tells of Sarah's future son, who is John Connor, who would later become the protagonist in these later films, will rally the survivors and will lead a successful resistance movement against Skynet and its army of machines. And on the verge of resistance victory, Skynet then sent the Terminator back in time to kill Sarah and prevent John from being born. Hence why this Terminator is after her. It wants to kill her unborn son and prevent the future from being fixed. And the Terminator is an efficient, relentless killing machine. When we meet him with perfect voice mimicking ability and durable metal endoskeleton covered by living tissue that disguise it as a human so that no one knows it's a machine, like, in like one specifically scary scene, he approaches this one house and the guy that's sleeping, a tree up attacks him, but then his wife comes in And then he straight up kills her, like guns her down several times. And the way he just walks to her, crawling, trying to escape, it's haunting. The music is haunting. Just walks over. He does not give a fuck that he's gonna kill us. Thing like they really capture the evil Terminators right in this film. I mean, I like the T-1000, but I feel like with villains, like they really captured it, made the T-800 actually much more intimidating and terrifying here. And I think the villain Terminators are done better with this film because this one really shows how evil they are and how they're not to be fucked with. So after that, the Terminator then proceeds to go after the targets he's supposed to be going after. That's Sarah and Kyle, so their unborn son John. The Terminator hunts them down time after time, especially in the famous police station scene that I'll get to in a little bit, where Arnie finally says the trademark line, and then he returns moments later. He crashes through the wall in a car. It takes a whole squad of and it takes down a whole squad of cops. But of course, Sarah Reese obviously escaped unscathed. There's countless classic scenes in a Terminator, and you see many of them spoofed in a lot of pop culture nowadays. And like from the images of a Terminator, the lines they speak, the scenes they act out, just everything is spoofed. And the film is worthy of its fame. Then you have the next action scene, which is, of course, like I mentioned, the infamous police chase, like the massacre, which everyone seems to talk about whether they discuss this movie or they, of course, the infamous robot reveal at the end. And you could definitely see why. Like, it's a very epic scene right here. It's when the Terminator shows up at a police station. It's like, I'm a friend of Sarah Connor. I was told she was here, man. Visitor hours are over. I'll be back. And he leaves, crashes into the police station. Then he just shoots down every fucking cop in his path. The greatest at ease, either with like an AK-47, his shotgun, or even both. He ends up cutting the power, setting the station on fire, and adds to the tension and the excitement. Like how we get the scene is, during our car chase with the T-800, Kyle, and Sarah, police apprehend Reese and Sarah after another encounter with the Terminator. Then after that, we get the police station attack. Then Reese and Sarah escape. They steal their car and they take refuge in a motel. And they decide to assemble several pipe bombs and they plan their next move. And if Reese then even admits right here he's adored Sarah since he saw her in a photograph John gave him, in his timeline anyways, he traveled through time out of love for her, and which reciprocates his feelings. And so there's a sex scene, and that sex scene does conceive John in Sarah's timeline. And the performances, like all the performances are spectacular. Like the three that do stand out are obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger, who in this movie introduced us to his iconic role as a Terminator, was a cyborg disguised as a human being. And Terminator got sent back in time for 2029 to Los Angeles in 1984 to terminate Sarah to prevent the birth of John Connor, who later goes on to lead the human resistance. And this is a rare thing because Arnold Schwarzenegger really never plays a villain. So he's perfect as a Terminator. Perfect as the killing machine programmed to kill without any pity, remorse, or fear. This quest to terminate Sarah Connor. Then you get Linda Hamilton. Before you get to Linda Hamilton, sadly, Terminator 2 is better, but if you guys do kind of think about it, this one also kind of start the downside of over-humanizing the T-800, sadly. Because of those later sequels that come after T2, he's now just a watered-down joke that gets more and more humanized as the series progresses, and it sucks. Then you have Linda Hamilton in an early role, who introduced us to one of the best female leads of all time, Sarah Connor. She's timid and mousy waitress whose life is about to be changed forever upon discovery of her unborn son, John Connor, and definitely become the future leader of the human resistance. And she still doesn't want to believe that such an event would happen with the nuclear war and the rise of the machines, but it's until her encounter with the Terminator and thus begins their quest to stay alive for the sake of her unborn son to survive this real-life nightmare. And then you have Michael Biehn. In one of his other earlier roles, plays the other guy that was sent to 1984, Kyle Reese, who was a young battle-hardened World War soldier who got volunteered to be sent back in time to 1984 by John Connor to protect his mother at all costs from the Terminator. Then once Reese rescues Sarah, he warns her about the impending doom of the human race from the nuclear war and her future significance carried by her and her unborn son. And surprisingly, this film also, for a mainstream movie because back then Hollywood wasn't all censoring shit, and the films were actually allowed to be as edgy as possible without being over-censored, trying to be all pandering to certain demographics. It's surprisingly gory for a mainstream movie. Because, in one scene, when the Terminator's like having to reveal its robotic parts, during this whole scene, the Terminator rips out his own eye, parallels the ultraviolence popular in many other films, and people even repeatedly violently get shot and mutilated. And to keep things moving along, there's a ton of action in the film with hundreds of bullets flying everywhere, numerous car chases. The only spot like where things light up is near the end where Reese and Sarah hide out first in a tunnel, then a motel. A section of the film tends to kind of veer into mid-tedium. It's the only part where Cameron, like, maybe Cameron could have done better those there, but then again, this was kind of the first, like, huge action film he did, and, like, when the action does happen, it does not stop, it never stops, it never lightens up, like, back then, guys, these 5 movies were all done during a time when Cameron wasn't Jimmy Cammy wasn't trying to constantly be 3 fucking hours long for no reason, and actually had justified run times. Like, even, like, think about this. This movie is only 107 minutes long. Aliens, depending on the version you watch, I think is either 154 or 137 minutes long, and that's perfectly fine enough. This movie, 137 minutes long. Like, true. With this one, I forget, like, it's... Here's the runtime for this one. Like, this one's like 2.5 hours. And this one's also 2.5 hours. But even these don't feel that as nearly as long as, like, Titanic or the Dancing with Smurfs movies he did. Like, much like the bigger budgeted Aliens he did after this, like, James Cameron shows what he could be capable of without mega million-dollar budgets, getting great military limited resources. Brief visions of the nuclear ravaged LA of 2029 look fantastic for their age, because it definitely looks bleak, it looks hellish, and it's everyone's just in constant fear of the robotic hunting killers, and the Terminators, and, like, James Cameron's directing this movie, it's outstanding, and especially considering this budget was only $6.4 million. It's a primitive and effective special effects that deserves a special mention. The effects of this movie are, in parts, like, better than anything that could be done in today's CGI. Sure, there's, like, many parts that are outdated as hell, but there's still certain effects that look real enough to believe. And by creating a tightly written thriller with an almost claustrophobic sense of tension to it, Cameron proved right at the start of his career that he does not need to make a budget to make a great film. And sadly, that's something, like, he doesn't seem to really understand nowadays anymore. Like, it's a significant note that the 2 finest pictures of Cameron's career, Terminator, T2, Aliens, True Lies, Abyss. These films, like, with the smallest budgets, like, most of the film was, believe it or not, guys, like, most of the film wasn't even shot during the daytime. Most of this film was literally shot during the night. And so it gives the atmosphere of the movie a more darker feeling. And helped the filmmakers greatly because the budget was very low. Like, and so, after Sarah and Kyle conceive John, they make love to each other. And then we get to the Terminator again, where he gets a bit of a funny moment where the janitor, I think, or room service is there knocking on his door. It's like, fuck you, asshole. And then he just goes off, continues his mission right there, just cutting through people, pissing them off, just rudely cutting through people to get through. Some of them are getting all pissed off at him. So yeah, and then we get to the finale right here. The finale of this movie, it's very haunting, and it's very epic at the same time. Because during the finale, once the Terminator's back on his mission, he locates Sarah again, and he intercepts a call intended for her mother, so she and Reese escape the motel in the pickup, while it pursues them on a motorcycle. And the ensuing chase, like, and you get the epic, like, moment of the T-800 riding a motorcycle in these films. In the ensuing chase, though, Kyle Reese sadly gets badly wounded by gunfire while throwing pipe bombs at the Terminator. And so Sarah then knocks the Terminator off its motorcycle, but loses control of the truck and it flips over. So the Terminator is now bloodied and badly damaged, and it attacks the tank truck and attempts to run down Sarah. But Reese slides a pipe bomb to the tanker's house tube. It causes a giant explosion that burns all the flesh from the Terminator's indoor skeleton, and revealing its real design right here. It's pretty much an entire robotic skeleton with red eyes, made entirely of metal, no emotion, and always grinning the whole entire time. It's very haunting when we get to see its real self for the first time. Right there. Like, I think it's easily one of the scariest film moments in any movie ever. Like, the rest of the And what's worse is like the rest of the chase gets even more terrifying and does not even get lighter because of how realistic a concept like this actually really is. The fact that something like this could happen makes it the more terrifying, and a machine like this could get invented. Like during the whole sequence, it pursues them into a factory, and Reese activates the machinery to confuse it. He jams his final pipe bomb into its midsection, then blows it apart, but Reese is sadly killed. But it does not destroy the T-800, so it's still functional. Torso grabs Sarah, but then she breaks free and lures it to a hydraulic press and crushes it and finally destroying it. And then she pretty much says, "You've been terminated." And right there, that scene right there finally turns Sarah Connor to the badass she is now, into the badass she would become in Terminator 2, right in this scene right here. And this is where she officially became one of the most badass female leads ever. Right there. It took this first movie to really toughen her up. Right here. And then of course Kyle Reese's body is buried or zipped up. But Sarah Connor's now free, so Kyle Reese completed his mission in death. The T-800 is destroyed. And then we cut to months later where Sarah's now pregnant with John. And she's traveling through Mexico. She records a bunch of audio tapes to pass on to John when he's born. She stops at a gas station, and a boy takes a Polaroid picture of her, and she buys it. And it's the exact photograph that John is going to one day give to Reese. And the gas station owner comments that there's definitely a store coming, and Sarah replies that she knows, and it alludes to humanity's future war against Skynet. And the film ends as Sarah drives off into the sunset, just getting ready. She's pretty much now on her quest to destroy all of Skynet, and it pretty much is a nice little setup and tease for this movie to come out. Right there, because we all know that's next, and we're going to meet her in a little prison in the next film, so she's pretty much off destroying a whole bunch of Skynet bases for how this first movie ends. She's pretty much now going to go destroy Skynet. She's done her sunglasses. She's now going to become the badass she is in Terminator 2. It's a perfect setup for Terminator 2 right there. And the film literally just simply ends right there. It's surprisingly nice and short. It's a perfect way to end the first half of this whole two-parter story and set up Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Which easily, to me, what should have been the final half of the whole story, but sadly it wasn't. Because apparently Hollywood decided Terminator needs to be some Hollywood franchise. But this was a nice little end to the first half. And easily. Nothing, and you get the epic dun 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 music as the credits roll. It's easily one of the best scores of any of any cinema picture ever. Now, would the film have bad qualities? Well, now, to be honest, the scenes where they're hiding, I feel like could have been better. The sex scene, yeah, I get the sex scene's important in the film because that's how John's going to be born, but I feel like the sex scene just drags on way too long, and it's not really needed. Or no. I mean, it is needed. Never mind. I mean, it could be shortened a little bit. Some of the effects, because this was the 80s, they're a little outdated as well. It's the 80s, so what do you expect? And for those who hate the stop motion on the T-800, I like the stop motion on T-800. The stop motion makes the scene more terrifying when it's chasing them at the end. And this movie does also advertise Arnold as the lead, but when you watch the movie, he's actually the villain of the movie, so it's very misleading for those getting introduced to the film and thinking, oh wow, Arnold's going to play a main protagonist cyborg. No, he's actually the villain of the movie. Our real protagonist is Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor. And because, speaking of that, people stop calling this an action movie because it's not an action movie. It's a horror film. It's got a horror tone like the first Alien movie did, and it has straight up slasher moments. So, literally, why should this constantly keep getting called a action film? It's not until the sequels it becomes action. Like, this one was a straight up horror movie. A straight up horror slasher with a very realistic concept. More realistic than like the Elm Streets or Halloweens or Friday the 13th. However, regardless of those, The Terminator would definitely go on to be James Cameron's first masterpiece in cinema, and the film that made him famous. So, in the end, The Terminator is worth watching and buying for anybody who loves these kind of films and want to see the era in which James Cameron was worth a shit. Anyways, guys, that's it for my view of The Terminator. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank The Terminator, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you love futuristic cyborg films, then totally watch and buy The Terminator for your collection to get a good first half of the story. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank The Terminator, I'm going to give The Terminator an obvious 10 out of fucking 10. And there we go, guys. That wraps up my epic movie review for The Terminator. So, tonight after dinner, I'm going to watch this so I can review it. And, yeah. I mean, I will... And then after I do Terminator, I'll review Abyss and True Lies so that I can do my James Cameron ranking of the films. I'll probably... And do an epic rant on Titanic. So I can rank all the James Cameron directed movies I've seen that I actually think are good. But until then, guys, that'll be it for this epic movie review. Thank you all for watching. If you like this, want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.